greatest gifts he gave me when I was, I think, 12 or 13 was, well, a copy of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and,
sure.
And kind of a spin-off book called Success-Cybernetics by U.S. Anderson, which, you know,
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, and both of these books, particularly Psycho-Cybernetics, seem to deal
Wonderful.
with the metaphor of the computer, which of course was, you know, in its infancy at the time, as a metaphor for our brains,
Wonderful.
And spirits, and emotions.
You had a great parentage, and you know, Psycho-Cybernetics, for anybody who doesn't know it, is a book that was published in this country in 1960 by a cosmetic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz. And Maltz had this fascinating observation. He was a pioneer in cosmetic surgery, and he would treat people who were burn victims or who were suffering from deformities, or just average everyday people who wanted an improvement in their appearance. And he found that when he would perform cosmetic surgery on people, in many cases, their self-image improved. But there was a persistent fraction of cases in which people's self-image did not improve. And he would see people over a sustained period of time.
It didn't get worse, it didn't get worse.
It just wouldn't get better. They would experience no visible improvement in self-esteem, even though they looked better, you know, yeah, by some measure.
Right.
And so he wondered why. And what is self-image, after all? And he came to the conclusion that we are beings of conditioning, and that each of us possesses a mind that is basically a homing device, and we are persistently feeding that homing device images of what we want, and it acts on these images and directs us in ways that we very often are unconscious of. So his method was to teach, reinforce, and alter what messages we're feeding to the homing device, and it would objectively change our lives. It was a secular iteration of the positive thinking philosophy. And if the idea of talking about metaphysical forces is unappealing to you, read Psycho-Cybernetics, because you'll find the same methodology but rendered in the language of conditioning psychology. It's a wonderful book and a demanding book.
Warner Earhart took some of that advice and applied it to,
If you were brought up in a family, not that many people have been brought up in this way, in a more ideal situation of absolute love, and you were being, because when people fall in love, they feel good about themselves, and they can feel healthier and all this kind of stuff. So if you were brought up with encouragement and support and nurturing, or got that later in your life, hopefully, just that it's like an intentional energy that keeps saying you're wonderful, you're great, you're something, you know, or you're just being shown it in some way, whether they're saying it or not. But that whole focus is an intention behind something that creates an effect. But the idea of love is from my understanding, is in my experience, is it's all encompassing. If it's pure, which is the only thing that love would be, if it is that. The whole energy of that would put you into a whole different alignment, which reminds you back, it helps you to remember the truth of who you are, and in that truth, it goes back to that alignment of the cell membrane thing, it kind of brings you back into your original intention or your original blueprint of who you are in that multidimensional experiencing of the fullness of our being.
There's no collapsing of the wave function, right?